All right, folks. It's 1:25 in the morning. I just got off work. Um, I wanted to record this tonight after getting off work after watching this Oriole game at work. Um, I wanted to record this before going to bed because I knew if I did this in the morning, it was going to piss me off and, you know, just re-anger me from, the nonsense that we just watched. Um, so I wanted to get this out of the way, so that's why I look tired. Um, it's like I said, it's 1:25 in the morning, and I just got home. Um, that being said, I'm very pissed off. What we just saw was an absolute travesty. Um, I've been critical of Brandon Hyde in the past. I've never been his biggest fan. But I'm also not going to sit here and say he hasn't done some good things for this organization. He has a good clubhouse. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that the clubhouse is shitty, this and that. The guys do love him, and I will lead with that. That being said, this was not supposed to be Brandon Hyde's team. It's showing why this was not supposed to be Brandon Hyde's team, and it's starting to get to the point where something's gonna have to happen within the. I mean, nothing. He's obviously not gonna get fired within the next 2 months, whether any of us want it or not. And I'm not saying that's the right move at this moment. I think it is in the off season. It would obviously you can't just uproot a manager. I mean, technically you could, but you can't just uproot a manager when you're almost 20 games above 500. In early August, because he's a moron. But that said, what happened, what transpired tonight was just the definition of the Brandon Hyde managerial run in Baltimore. And, it's easier to sit here and say that mistakes will obviously be, they're in the limelight more, if that's the right word. We see the mistakes more than we don't. When Brandon Hyde does something good, it's not really spoken of. We notice it, but there's a lot of moments where it's just like, what the hell are we doing? There's a lot more of that than there is, Brandon Hyde made a great decision there. And, even going back to this weekend, Brandon Hyde's pinch hitting decisions did work out. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say this weekend, what he did this weekend worked out. It did. But going into today, you're already playing from behind. You find out 5 minutes before the start of the game, Grayson Rodriguez is scratched. He's hurt. Now you got another injury to deal with, and that's a whole nother subject that's just going to sit and anger everybody. If Grayson Rodriguez is out for an extended period of time, you got a lot of trouble. And, I mean, shit, if he misses any playoff time, we're done. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it, and I've had this conversation with multiple people. You can't go into the playoffs with Dean Kremer as your Game 3 starter and expect to win a World Series. You just can't. And, that's something that's out of Michael Elias' hands right now. Michael Elias has done what he could to get pitching here. It's out of Brandon Hyde's hands, the cards he's been dealt. But with that said, you just can't. You're not going to. I can't say you can't go into it because it's more than likely going to happen. But you can't win a World Series with that being your number 3 starter. And if you do, you got very lucky. Obviously, no one could predict that Kyle Bradish was going to go down. Nobody could predict John Means was going to go down. John Means is always hurt, but you couldn't predict he was going to need another Tommy John surgery. Couldn't predict Tyler Wells was going to go down. I mean, you couldn't predict Grayson Rodriguez was going to have some sort of lat issue in August, and nobody knows how long it's going to be until we get more imaging. You've dealt with a lot of things this year. And the team's been kept afloat. They're almost 20 games above 500. So they're still doing fine. But that being said, it's not enough. You sat through that rebuild, and the expectation was, you draft hitting, you do everything you can with hitting. And on the hitting side, yeah, you've gotten all the talent in the world. And then, you trade for pitching. You got Corbin Burns. You got Zach Eflin. You traded for Trevor Rogers, et cetera. You made moves everywhere else. But you're not there on the pitching side. And then when you're not there on the pitching side, you got to make up for it on the offensive side. And frankly, tonight was just an utter embarrassment. You get there, bases loaded, no outs. You're down 5-1, and the only run you have on the day is a Jackson Holiday home run. Moonshot. Jackson Holiday's came up, and he's hitting close to damn near 400 since he's been called back up. And so what do? We go ahead and bring Austin Slater up. The guy we acquired for cash considerations a week ago, who, as Brandon Hyde would say, is hitting lefties well this year as he's slashing 195 with 300 on base percentage. It's just mind-boggling to me. You have Jackson Holiday coming up, who had a home run. He's been your only spark of offense on the day. And Jackson Holiday gets pulled for fucking Austin Slater? Like, are we being fucking serious? Like, I'm trying to stay calm, but it's like, I don't understand how you can manage from a fucking Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. I'm not going to sit here and bash analytics and say analytics are bad for the game, this and that. Analytics have helped the Orioles a ton over the last few years. Analytics has helped make these guys get to where they are on the pitching side. Helped a lot of hitters. Analytics are needed, but you can't manage a game in a fucking Microsoft Excel sheet. And maybe I'll get a lot of backlash for this, but fucking, you know what? I'll take Buck Showalter not using as much analytics over fucking Brandon Hyde sitting here with a spreadsheet every day. At some point, there has to be a feel for the game, and right now, Brandon Hyde does not have that. Brandon Hyde does not have the feel for the game that you need from a manager that when you're fighting for the AL East against the Yankees, you're fighting for a World Series, you've sat through 4 years of a rebuild. Last year, you won 101 games. You get your fucking teeth kicked in the playoffs, which, granted, you know what? It had to happen. The guys weren't ready. And I'm not going to sit here and bash that. It had to happen. Obviously, we wish it didn't happen. But, you don't just make the playoffs for the first time and then go win a World Series. And if you do, you got extremely lucky. And things went your way. Things obviously didn't go the Orioles' way. And I'm not going to sit here and blame that. You also had Dean Kremer starting Game 3 of that series. And, your bullpen fell to pieces. Which goes back to Mike Elias not really upgrading the bullpen this year, with Craig Kimbrell being his one key addition in the bullpen in the offseason, which is absolutely fucking abysmal. Thinking that Craig Kimbrell was going to, somehow replace Felix Bautista and everything was going to be okay. Obviously not. We all saw it coming. You're throwing chalk on a wall and you're throwing shit on a wall and hoping it sticks. But back to tonight, Austin Slater pinch hitting for Jackson Holiday was horrible enough. Then you got Ramon Urias coming up, who just had a fucking at bat for the fucking year. Just sat there swinging through fucking fastballs just like normal. It blows my mind. Jackson Holiday's hitting goddamn near 400 since getting called back up. And you're going to pinch hit him for Austin Slater and then let Ramon Urias hit. And then Colton Cowser, who's batting leadoff, who's on a fucking 17-game hitting streak, you're going to fucking pinch hit him. And I'm not going to sit here and bash Kobe Mayo. Obviously, I'm not going to do that. Kobe Mayo needed to be hitting in that situation for Ramon Urias. Not for Colton Cowser. You don't pinch hit your fucking leadoff hitter who's on a 17-game hitting streak because of a fucking lefty being on the mound. That is absolutely fucking ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous, and there's no defending that. You just don't do that. Toronto just fucking sold at the deadline. They're a bad team. They're bad for baseball. And you sit there, you fucking, Greg Soto comes in, gets his teeth kicked in, it's just so angry. And it's just so angry, and Brandon Hyde left Greg Soto out there to fucking, to die. Obviously, he hasn't had it. He hasn't had it since he's gotten here. I just don't understand the logic behind his moves. I just want to pull something up real quick while we're sitting here. You know, and shout out to Albert Suarez tonight, by the way. You know, showing up with, you know, no notice and throwing an absolute gem for what he had to do. You know, Burch Smith got two quick outs in that inning, and then, you know, gave up a dinky little single, and then we pull him, and Greg Soto shits the bed. I still don't understand pulling Burch Smith. That another mind-boggling. Brandon Hyde, just feeble moment. No, shout out. I will give a shout out to Craig Kimbrell for hitting Vlad. You know, James McCann got hit in the face last week. Jordan Westbrook's going to be out for the rest of the regular season because he got hit in the hand, and the Orioles did nothing to retaliate. Brandon Hyde did nothing to back his guys. You know, your backup catcher gets hit in the fucking nose and somehow stays in the game because you got a doubleheader coming up, your doubleheader that day. And he knows Adley's not going to catch 17 innings. And then the next day, obviously, McCann wasn't going to be available. So McCann took one for the team and showed that, you know, he is one hell of a guy, you know, and has a hell of a heart, and just stayed in there, broken nose, fucking black eye. That's the guy. That guy has fucking heart. James McCann has heart. Brandon Hyde does not have his team's back if he can't stand up and say, what the fuck? You know, we're sitting there and letting Jordan Westbrook get hit in the... Oh, shit, I just knocked my water over. That's great. Let me deal with that later. It's infuriating. It's very much so infuriating. Kobe Mayo should have been hitting for Ramon Urias, and I get he struck out, but, you know... I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand how Brandon Hyde can sit there and do what he does and then faces no backlash. And another thing I want to bring up while we're sitting here is just it's just soft what's coming from the Baltimore media at the end of the day. And I'm not bashing any local podcast or anything. I'm talking about Masson itself, which I get is a part of the Orioles. I'm talking about the Baltimore Sun. I'm talking about the Baltimore Banner and any other newspaper that has, you know, access to Brandon Hyde every day, access to Michael Elias whenever the hell he's around and not at a bar at Towson. We're sitting here and we softball these guys. You watch the New York media. You watch the fucking White Sox, NBC Sports Chicago. You watch the White Sox. There's 60 games under 500. And those guys let you know there's 60 games under 500. They're openly on the White Sox network questioning their guys. They're questioning their manager. They're questioning everything that's going on there because they know it's a complete and utter shit show. The New York Mets could be great. The New York Yankees could be great. And they are getting fucking... Aaron Boone goes on John Boy every week. He goes on fucking John Boy every week and fucking gets questioned. Brandon Hyde, he'll sit there and do some stupid shit like he did tonight and not get questioned, not get pressed. Why is this happening? Why is this? Even if you look at the Ravens, Mike Preston, you know, he'll press people about it. He'll write the stuff that needs to be written. You know? Brandon Hyde does some stupid shit and there's no accountability. You know, everybody, Rockabacco, Steve Maluski, they're all scared to lose their fucking job by questioning Brandon Hyde. Last I checked, we're 6 years into this. Nobody knows how long of a contract Brandon Hyde has here. Nobody knows how long of a contract Mike Elias has here. How the fuck do we not know how long their contracts are? Look, I've never seen that. And I get Rubenstein just took over. And I get how bad Angelo's was. How do you not know how long their fucking contracts are? Or how do we not know? They know. How do we not know? We're sitting here not knowing how long we're tied to these guys. And obviously tonight's just a bad night. You know, obviously I'm angry. A lot of people are angry. It's just piss poor management. But when you're sitting here in a pennant race, you're trying to win the division, you know, and you're playing the lefty-righty game with fucking Austin Slater letting Ramon Urias hit and then pinch hitting your fucking one of the only guys that seems to be hitting right now. Colton Cowser's one of the only people on this team hitting right now, and you fucking pinch hit him? Like, it just makes no fucking sense. That makes no fucking sense. I get Kobe Mayo getting in at bat in that situation. If anybody's going to hit a homer, it's him. You do that for Ramon Urias. You don't do that for Colton Cowser, and you sure as hell don't bring in Austin Slater for Holiday. I don't give a fuck that Austin Slater walked. I don't give a shit. You don't do that. You don't fucking pull a guy that's hitting 400 because there's a goddamn lefty on the mound. Let's go back to spring training. Lefty, Jackson Holiday hit a grand slam against Yusei Kikuchi and Dunedin. Same team, a different left-handed pitcher. I don't care if it's spring training. Jackson Holiday can hit lefties. He's the number one fucking prospect in baseball. He's the number one prospect in baseball. You just acquired Austin Slater for shits and giggles. It's so angering. It's very fucking angering. The bullpen decisions make no sense. The pinch hitting made no sense tonight. And I've already never, I've publicly bashed Brandon Hyde before. I'm not going to sit here and say I've been his biggest fan. I'm not. But it was just inept what happened tonight. It was absolutely ridiculous, and it can't happen. It cannot happen. And it's very angry. I needed to get that out of me because it's incredible that we sit here and this shit's allowed to happen. You know, you're down by 4, you're down by 3, and you got the bases loaded. You score 1 run, mind you. We still ended up only scoring 1 run on an Austin Slater walk. You took the bat out of the number one prospect in baseball, who already homered tonight, to fucking Austin Slater. You took Colton Cowser out of the game, who's on a 17-game hitting streak. Who was on a 17-game hitting streak. For Kobe Mayo. And I'm not sitting here bashing Kobe Mayo. Kobe Mayo should have been hitting for Ramon Urias. Kobe Mayo should have been up 9th, pinch hitting for Ramon Urias. Should have went Holiday, Mayo, Cowser. And if you can score 4 runs in that situation, great. And if you don't, you don't. But you rely on your guys. You don't go to your fucking bench and pull guys that are going to be superstars one day for fucking Austin Slater. And you know, that's just nonsense. Letting Ramon Urias hit. Like, we're not... You're 20 games over 500. You're 67-47. And it's just... It doesn't feel that way. And this team honestly hasn't played good since the last 2 games of the Yankee series in New York. So, what was that? Early July? I mean, I could pull the dates up right now. It was... Fuck me. It was late June. It was June fucking 19th and 20th. Then you went into Houston, lost 3. Cleveland, you shit the bed. Fucking, you won 3 against Texas. That looked good. You won 2 in Seattle. You know, you won 2 in Oakland, but it was an ugly 2 wins. Then you got swept by the fucking Cubs. You took 1 against the Yankees, and you got fucking lucky. Going right before the All-Star break, you still blew the game you won. You take 2 out of 3 in Texas. You go into Miami and get embarrassed. You fucking blow a 6-0 lead. Padres, you take 1. Toronto, you take 3, which you got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. And then you took 2 in Cleveland and lucked out after losing the first 2 and everything looking like the sky was falling. And the sky is falling. Let's just be real. You got to take the next 2 in Toronto, and you got to take 2 in Tampa at minimum, and then you got to come home and win. I have a sick taste in my mouth. This is not Brandon Hyde's team. It's just not. I think the Orioles being good in 2022 is what saved him. I full-heartedly believe this was supposed to be Buck Britton's team. And after 2022, you couldn't get rid of Brandon Hyde. And last year, you won 101 games, and he was the manager of the year, and you couldn't get rid of him. Obviously, and he earned it last year. He absolutely earned it last year. It's just so angering. Because I just have this feeling in the back of my head, obviously, that we're not going to win this year. We don't have the pitching. We don't have the manager. Brandon Hyde's getting outsmarted by fucking teams that have shitty managers. You know, there was a lot of differences in the series last year against Texas in the playoffs, but Bruce Bochy versus Brandon Hyde is a major, major difference. Um, you just can't manage the game on an Excel sheet. You have to have a trust in your guys. You have to have a gut feeling, and you also got to stand up for your guys. You lost your starting third baseman for 2 months, and your backup catcher got hit in the face, and we did jack shit. We did jack shit about it. Jackson Holliday's got hosed for the last week. He's been up. He's gotten hosed. On strike three calls. We're getting screwed at the plate. Braden Hyde's not saying a fucking word. He's not getting ejected. He's not going out there and arguing. He's just sitting there with his thumb up his ass, not doing anything. Gunner's gotten called for the same pitch on the outside fucking corner every time for the last 2 years. Never does anything about it. It's an outside pitch, and we've done nothing about it. So I don't even know what to say. But I'm going to leave it at that. It's 1:45 in the morning, and I need to go to bed. You guys will be seeing this in the morning. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you're new. Hopefully shit gets better, but I don't see it happening. The Orioles have found a way to piss everybody off. And they just haven't looked the same since late June. So hopefully they snap out of it. But, I never expect anything good to happen anymore, and especially in baseball. It just feels like we've been let down for the last 40 years. So, yeah. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Y'all take care. Clay Train's out.